Hey everybody, welcome back to Discover SPRINGFORD. I'm standing in front of Dirks Pest Management Specialists, located at 411 North Lewis Road in Limerick Township. Today, I'm sitting down with the owners, Mike and Nancy Dirks. I'm Geoffrey Desiato, a professional actor, part-time realtor, and transplant to the Springford area. And I'm on a mission to find the best that Springford has to offer. I'll be interviewing local business owners, civil servants, and other prominent members of the community to find out what makes Springford a great place to live, work, eat, and explore. I invite you to join me on my journey as I discover Springford. Mike and Nancy, thank you so much for allowing me to come into your business and sit down and have this conversation with you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank
really
you for
appreciate it. Yeah, no problem. I know it's been a long time coming, trying to get something on the schedule. Busy lives and life gets in the way, and holidays and all that kind of stuff. So glad to be here. And why don't we go back to the beginning? You guys can tell us a little bit about your personal journeys. I know just talking before we started filming, neither of you necessarily thought you'd end up where you are today, and
Absolutely
I'm
not.
kind of in the same boat. So I'd love to hear a little bit of your personal story. So either of you can start.
Do you want to go first?
Start good.
Oh, okay. Well, I grew up in a little area called Belmont Hills down in Ballacue, Lower Murray Township, and graduated from Harrington High School and moved out to Bridgeport in 1982. At that time, I met some people from Bridgeport, really good friends that talked me into becoming a police officer, and I became a police officer in 1984 for Bridgeport. So working for Bridgeport Police Department, and for 4 years, and then I got hired up at West Norton Township Police Department, where I worked as a police officer. So in 2002, I actually got injured on duty, and they put me out on disability. So I got I needed a whole new career. So
Wow.
Pest control was one of my part-time jobs, so I worked for another company for a few years to learn the business. And it was a friend of mine ran the business, and he was gracious enough to allow me to learn it from him. And then we went out on our own.
About when did you? How long after you had been put out on disability did you start your own? Was that kind of around the same time that you worked for somebody else, and then once you were, set loose or whatever, like you just started the business right away, or did you work for that other person for a number of years after being on the police force?
Well, most police officers have more than one job. So
Right.
pest control was one of my part-time jobs,
Yeah.
along with like armed security and stuff like that. So what I did was I was doing it part-time, and then when I was put out on disability in 2002, I went to work for another company full-time. So after doing 2 years full-time, we had started our business full-time after that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry, I
it was
just wanted to
like
make sure.
2004.
We started filming, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't have my phone going off. I'm so professional. Folks, sorry about that. But we're laid back. I always try to get people to understand that. It's a laid back show, and so much so that I'm like turning off my phone right in the mid-conversation, so I apologize.
So we started in 2004.
Okay.
Full-time. And we started one job at a time, believe it or not.
Really?
It was pretty tough. So I have friends of mine that own security companies. So I would work Tuesdays and Thursdays, and Saturdays we dedicated to do pest control. And Nancy, being a stay-home mom, ran the office from home. So we started right in our home, and then Nancy would run the office, and we would schedule every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And then our goal was, once we booked up those 3 days, then we would add another day on. And
Right.
we would add another day on. And then to supplement my income there, I would work Homeland Security and Armed Security in banks in Philadelphia and for the water company and so forth, because I was able to carry a firearm.
Okay.
So I was able to do armed security.
So you were doing that on those alternate days when you weren't doing pest control. Man, that must have been a nerve-wracking time, I would imagine. And just as, my wife, one of the reasons I got into real estate and being self-employed was because my wife she went back to work as a teacher. So to be the main principal breadwinner and starting a business from scratch, that must have been an interesting endeavor. Yeah. So you're about to celebrate 15 years as doing it full, or you already have
15 years.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Where were you guys when the business started? Were you in the Springford area, or was it when you were still in the Methacton area or West Norrington area?
No, we were Springford.
Well, yeah, we moved into Springford area in 2003.
Okay.
And we started running right out of our home.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
so we
incredible.
started in Springford, Collegeville area,
Okay.
and then we ran it out of our house until we got 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, really? So
And
this
then 4
location
years
is
ago,
pretty
we
new.
bought this location.
Oh, okay. Do you know, was this a commercial business before you purchased
No.
it?
No, it was a residential home, but this is called the Lewis Road Overlay. So
Okay.
they want to change a lot of this, the township, into commercial.
Yeah, it seems like
properties.
there's a lot of businesses along this Lewis
I'll
Road for
change it
sure.
over.
Yeah. So we had to go for rezoning.
Okay.
And Limerick Township was so gracious. I mean, they were really good to us.
That's great.
And they made it happen for us. I mean, because of Limerick Township, we were able to operate out of here.
Yeah.
And at this time, we employed 20 local residents.
That's
We
incredible.
have 20
Yeah.
employees. So yeah, we've really grown, and the township is awesome.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I can imagine that where you guys are now is probably difficult to see in those early days. You know, when you're just trying to get another job lined up, another job, trying to fill up those days to now have 20 people going out.
Well,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
was
think
the
we
main
really,
tech.
I don't think we really decided to really make it grow until all 4 of our kids literally came to us and said, we want to be part of the business.
Really?
That was a few years ago.
That's
So,
incredible.
Well, after '08, and our kids were still in school, so
Right.
after '08, and they saw the way the economy was so unstable back then that, they saw a lot of their friends going to college. Our kids went to college, but they saw like their friends getting out and having all that debt. They thought, you know what? We're just going to get into the family
And not
business.
finding jobs.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Not
So you
finding
have
jobs.
4 kids in the business now.
That's incredible. Yeah, and to have that injection of youth and to be able to really help and provide strengths that maybe you guys didn't have in this day and age. Different backgrounds, different upbringings, different skill sets is probably, I would imagine, helpful. As you guys, I'm sure you don't want to be doing this.
No.
Into your 80s and stuff. You don't want to still be like running out and booking things. So to have people to pass the baton on that you love and trust, as opposed to having, and because I would imagine, especially since you have your name on the business, hiring people must, it takes some trust to bring people on because they're representing not only the business but the Dirks name. So
Yeah. I'll tell you, being a retired police officer, I don't hire too many people that I don't know.
yeah,
Because
Oh, I'm
my
sure,
name is
yeah.
on every job, and
Yeah.
that's one of the things that concerns me all the time. So we make sure that we check everybody out really well before we hire them. And just about, I think everybody that we have working for us now, we know we have some type of connection with.
Okay.
So we don't really
It's
have.
like a friend or a family
Yeah.
member or
A friend
a
of some-
mutual
Direct
friend or something like
reference,
that. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a connection with just about everybody.
Yeah.
And then we do all of our checks.
Right. Yeah, I would imagine. I don't know if you put it on the job application. You are now applying for a job, working for a former police officer. Answer these questions truthfully or whatever. But I know I would think twice if I was going to be dishonest on an application for it because
Yeah,
you got connections.
Yeah. We have a good reputation.
That's
we don't want to
great.
jeopardize our reputation with a bad hire. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Well,
check
I've heard
everybody
that.
really
Yeah, people say that like hiring is the hardest part of having a business because a bad hire can cost you more money than
Absolutely.
than a bad job or something like that.
Yeah,
Because you can kind of if you build loyalty with a customer and there's a bad experience or something like that, you can redeem that. But if it's a person, that can kind of sully the waters a little bit. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
thankfully, I was a one-man operation and still am in that regard because I'm kind of a control freak in that regard. So like I can't imagine those for early days of being like I'm not going to be there. You're going to take this and you're going to run with it. You kind of have to take the training wheels off a little
Oh,
bit.
yeah.
So having your family involved probably helps with that.
Oh,
a
it is
little bit, yeah.
awesome.
Oh, it
It's
does.
awesome because one of them are always here.
Yeah, and then what are your children's names that are involved in the business?
So Lauren, I have Lauren and Dylan who are both the CSRs. So
Okay.
they are 2 of them who answer the phones when
Okay.
customers call. And then of course we have Michael and Sean who are 6 and 26.
Okay.
They are technicians.
Are they
and
twins?
sales- No,
Oh,
so
okay.
we're a blended family.
Oh, okay. No, that's fine.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sean and Michael, the 2 26-year-olds, are both sales/technicians.
Okay.
So that's where we're the roles that they're taking over. And then Dylan and Lauren, the 2, one's 22, one's 23 now.
Yeah.
All 4 of our kids are graduates from Springford.
Oh, okay.
They run the office, so they're overseeing the office, and we have 2 other people. So there's four CSRs in the office, and then Nancy and myself.
Wow.
And then the street we have the 16
technicians.
16
That's
technicians.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it grew.
Yeah.
You know what happens when you do good work
Yeah.
and people know that you're doing it and you're charging a fair price, and reputation just makes your business grow.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
we're like a 5-star company. I mean, if you look at our reviews,
Right.
we're 5-star.
That's
And we
incredible.
want to keep it that way.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, I would imagine. Have you noticed now that you guys have some visibility? I don't know where your business was before you bought this space, but obviously being on what you called it, the Bluest Overlay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lewis Road Overlay.
I mean, I actually come by here all the time. I live right off of, I don't know, people probably have seen me. They know where I live now. I'm not very,
Yeah, you can't
I'll just
hide.
say I live right inside Royersford Borough, where King Road turns into Fifth Avenue. Yeah, I live in that area, vicinity, but I'm always passing your business, like, because I'm
Yeah.
coming down Lewis Road, like, for anytime I'm up north anywhere. My dad lives in Pennsburg and stuff, so I'll come up. Have you noticed since now that you have your physical location, the brick and mortar,
Absolutely.
that people drive, they drive past, they see the name, there's recognition there, and then business has started to come from that?
Oh, yeah. People say that all the time. They were driving by, and then I think directly right in front of the building here, because of all the school buses
Yeah.
at time, it back up at like, what, 4, 3,
Oh,
4
yeah, in the
o'clock?
school, yeah.
Yeah, people tell us that all the time. I was driving by and I saw your building.
Yeah, and then when the ants come every spring, they're like, where can I get some? Oh, yeah, I remember. I was sitting outside of a building in rush hour traffic,
Yeah,
cursing the
that-
people in front of me, and I saw your name.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's good.
As long as they don't hit the sign, I'm happy.
Yeah, right. Has that happened yet? I can imagine.
No, we
being
had a
there.
guy in the front yard one time.
Oh, really?
From
Yeah,
the
I
Mason
mean,
Roads.
I tend to bring up other episodes when we're talking, but I interviewed Bill Pataccio of Pataccio Driving School, and they're right in Gibbons
He's a good
Fast
guy.
Tag.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Another, like Springford area, like local that everybody knows, the Pataccio name. They actually had someone drive right into, not one of his students, but somebody drove right into the Fast Tag building.
Oh,
Yeah, David.
And they took a picture of it because there was a car in the window, and right above the window it said Pataccio Driving School. It was like how perfect is that?
I saw that.
Did you? Yeah.
I saw the damage.
Yeah, it's terrible, but it's just so he was like, I don't know if this is like ironic or what, but like
is funny.
I can either use it as a good marketing thing to say like, come to Pataccio Driving School so this doesn't happen to you, or it could reflect very poorly because they'll think that this is what happens when you get into school. But no, they do great job. Actually, I just saw he's looking for more instructors. So if anybody wants to to teach, if you complain about the drivers in the Springford area, maybe you can help them out. But anyway, and then they won't get anybody on their front lawn.
Yes.
So, Nancy, tell me a little bit about your background. Obviously, you were not a pest
No.
control mogul
I-
growing up. You didn't have aspirations.
no, absolutely not. And if somebody told me I was doing this, I would have never believed them. So I actually grew up in King of Prussia,
Okay.
in Marion Township, and growing up, I think I knew by the age of maybe 10 or 11 that I wanted to be a school teacher.
Yeah.
So I literally spent my time every weekend, probably from the age of like 10, 11, babysitting. I
okay.
babysat the whole entire neighborhood. Finally, when I graduated from high school, I decided to attend Montgomery County Community College for education, which is what I did. Graduated with an associate degree, and then from there, went to Temple University in Ambler,
okay.
and did graduate with my secondary education there. And of course, it took me about maybe 8 to 10 years to actually get my final degree because I was working,
Right.
raising my kids. And then I actually went and got my master's degree at Beaver
wow.
College,
Okay.
which is now Arcadia.
Yeah.
So yeah, and when I tell people I graduated from Beaver, they have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I
So-
remember when it was Beaver. I think my dad took classes there or graduated from there. I can't remember. He went back to school after. He didn't go to college right out of high school. He went back as an adult and got a degree. And I thought it was from Beaver, but maybe he just took some of his credits there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing just to hear all these, because it's all similar areas to where I grew up and lived. Many, I'm very familiar with all the areas you just mentioned, Temple, Ambler, and everything.
Yeah.
I used to live in North Wales, and would go back and forth to Jenkintown and stuff, and
Nice.
all these names are, bringing back memories. So, tell me a little bit about. You mentioned how you did pest work on the side.
Mm-hmm.
How did that come about? Because you could have taken a number of different side jobs when you were in the force. Well, how did it become pest control?
Oh, well, years ago, I was friends with a Philly police officer that was involved with pest control.
Okay.
And he talked to me about it when I was like 18.
Oh, really?
to get into the pest control business with him. So I always had an interest in it.
Yeah.
And then when I needed a side job, I had a friend of mine that had a business, and I started working with them, in the business, and then I just did it on the side for myself.
Yeah.
You know, I studied and got every license there was in pest control, and then I just started doing it a little at a time on my days off.
Yeah.
You know, I was a police officer and a police mountain bike officer, so when I had a day off or something, I needed something I could work around my schedule.
Okay.
And pest control fit right in there.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's when I started doing the pest control on the side. And then after I got injured, it became a full-time career.
Yeah.
I needed to find a whole new career,
Yeah.
and that was it. And
Yeah, it was a natural transition
Yeah.
because you already had the background in that. Yeah.
And I knew it would work because he knows everybody.
Oh, right.
Being a prior police officer, he knows absolutely everybody.
Well, you know, I was a police officer for almost 20 years, and I was a volunteer firefighter, and I was always involved in helping people.
Right.
And believe it or not, even though, you know, you're charged for doing work, you're still helping people.
Absolutely.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? And I've always been part of a community. I love being part of a community. You know, community is a big thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Whether it's in church, whether it's in your life. I just like community. I grew up in a small community, so I was saying Belmont Hills.
Yeah.
And it was family oriented. And I find this area to be the same way. And then in Bridgeport, I was in Bridgeport for a few years, which was the same. I just like helping people. So here we are today.
It's so amazing that you just said, like, Bridgeport, like, seriously, like, the last, like, 3 of the last 5 interviews I've done, people were from Bridgeport.
Yeah.
Giovanni from Giovanni,
Yeah.
or John as he goes by, and then Alicia from the Big Easy.
Yeah.
They both mentioned Bridgeport as part of, you know, they both live there for a
great
large
community.
Yeah.
it's amazing. Like, so
I love
it's
it.
funny that in the first season, a lot of the people I interviewed, they were all from Upper Darby, and they ended up in Springford. So we were like, oh, what is it about, you know, that brought people from Upper Darby? And now season 2 must be like the transplants from Bridgeport or something like that. It's kind of funny how that works out.
Too.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like again, like kind of we were talking about before, like doing this show, it's made me realize, like, so there's so many connections that we have as people. Sometimes we focus on the differences that we have instead of the similarities, you know. So it's really encouraging to sit down with you guys and just hear, you know, one of the things I really enjoy about this is hearing, like, sometimes you hear about the fears and the doubts that you have as you're starting a business or you're running a business, or you're involved in civil service or whatever it may be. And it makes you realize, like, we're all just like human beings trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, instead of like everybody starting to label each other and, you know, talk down to each other or insult, you know, that's kind of the world we live in, unfortunately. But it really kind of restores my faith in humankind to sit down and talk with and hear your story. It's really awesome.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
And that's where we come up with the name, Dirks.
Oh, really?
Because, like Nancy said, I just knew so many people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just knew tons of people. And so we struggled in the beginning. I was trying to come up with, like, some fun names.
Right.
And then Nancy goes, well, why don't you just name it Dirks? Because
Everybody knows
Because
you.
everybody knows
knows
their
you.
name.
Everybody
Yeah.
knows them.
and they'll know how to find you. So,
Yeah, and that's really interesting because I did the same thing when I was getting into real estate. I always tend to talk about myself a little bit, but I had the option of joining a team, like a real estate team, and then you kind of just like everybody shares a piece of the pie, like of all the work that gets done. Or you would go out on your own and you would have to start from scratch essentially. Everybody's like, oh, you should join a team because the name is in the team name is recognizable, and then you can just kind of learn the business. But then you find out that, like, if you ever wanted to go out on your own, any business you got while you're on the team stays with the team. You have to start over. So it's like, if I'm going to start from scratch, I want to earn my lumps now. I don't want to like start over 4 years from now when I decide to go out on my own.
Right.
And I thought the same thing, Desiato, like, at least with my friends and family, it was a recognizable name, and, they knew my family, they trusted us. So, and they knew me. So I was like, all right, well, Desiato Homes will be like my loose business name or whatever, because I want it to reflect what they're going to experience from a business value standpoint, core values. They know you as a person, they know what you're all about. They can trust you as a partner in business. So that's really cool to hear that you said that, because again, that's one of those things where I was like, that's like-minded people, that's interesting. So as we wrap up, how can people get in touch with you guys? What's the best way to find out about Dirks?
That's you.
What do you mean that's me?
Well, we have a pretty good software package.
Yeah.
And we have a bunch of different phone numbers. So, the numbers on our sign.
Yeah.
The numbers are on our trucks. All you have to do today from what our website guy tells us is Google Dirks and it pops up on on the internet.
Yeah, that's good.
So
I don't know any other Dirks, so
Or the
like
best
personally,
pest control
yeah.
company.
That's good. Will they come up if you put the best pest control company? I'm sure it will.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, all the links to your business, your phone number, your address, all that stuff. We always put it below the video, so people will be able to click out to your Facebook page and everything.
yeah, but they can just put in dirkspms.com for pest management specialist, and that'll pop up that way.
Very good.
But and we struggled with the PMS for a while.
Yeah. I didn't want to say, but
I think it's funny.
Yeah.
For
And
what's
until the
bugging
website
you.
guy.
What is that?
The tagline is for what's bugging you.
Yeah. That's really good.
So until our web designer thought it was pretty funny too, then Nancy decided it was okay to go with Dirks PMS.
Yeah. People will remember it, and it's a lot easier typing in than the whole the whole thing. Yeah. So.
And that's another thing, like the name, even though it's pest management specialist, that's because when we started our business, when I got hurt on the police department, I chose the top specialist. I had 7 surgeons.
Oh man.
And I thought when you want to get the best, you go to a specialist.
Right.
And that's where we come up with the pest management specialist. Even though it's real long, that's what we pride ourselves in, being a specialist in pest control.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I wish you guys continued success here in the Springford area. Always love meeting new people and building a lasting relationship, whether that's through hopefully I won't have pest problems, but if I do, I now know who to call. So whether it's the bug busters or the the Dirks pest management specialist, I know that bug busters is probably a name you probably secretly still wish you had used, but I think you're good with Dirks. I think you got it right.
Yeah, we're glad it's worked.
Yeah. So as we close the show, any final thoughts that you guys would like to share to let people know about the business?
A local family business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're honest, hardworking. We have our 4 children are in the business. Yeah. We employ 20 people that are local.
Yeah.
And when you choose Dirks, you choose family.
That's right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So if you guys have any pest problems whatsoever, even if it's just a member of your family that's really getting on your nerves, just send them to work at Dirks. They'll straighten them out. They're used to working with families. So, well, Nancy and Mike, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate the time. I'm glad we were finally able to do this. And thanks for making it so easy to talk to you guys. I really appreciate it. Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's episode of Discover Springford. I want to thank you for watching and thank Mike and Nancy for their time today, as well as the whole staff at Dirks Pest Management Specialists. If you'd like to find out more about Dirks, you can click the links below the video. And if you get in touch with them, make sure you let them know that you heard about them through Discover Springford. If you'd like to support Discover Springford going forward, you can do that in a number of ways. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel at tv.discoverspringford.com. You can also subscribe to our podcast, which is available on any podcast app and is the best way to stay up to date with everything in the Springford area on the go. You can download the podcast on your phone and take it with you on the road, to the gym, or just listen around the house. Thanks again for watching this episode. I want to encourage you to come back next week. But until then, get out there on your own journey to discover what makes the Springford area a great place to live, work, eat, and explore.